Chad? Are you okay? Hello?
And finally, word from our sponsor, our oldest sponsor. These guys have been with us since the beginning, Starbucks Productions, who, if you are looking for a spot for your next show, if you're looking to, get something going this summer, there's still time to hit them up. I don't know, because I haven't hit them, I haven't talked to them about any events, but I mean, if not this year, next year, I assume that they have a lot going on. So, as always, because that's what they do, right? Right, everybody? I'm not with it. I'm doing these ads, okay? God damn it. If you're looking for a solid team of people to get you started with your next performance or event, these are the guys to contact. They're always busy, in motion, behind the scenes in the Midwest, and they have plenty of shit lined up. So what are we waiting for? Head over to their Facebook page for all your needs today. Guys, this is the McAllister's podcast. I'm your host, always, Cole McAllister. We're joined today by newcomer Kiera McGregor. Recently acted in the new short that's going to be coming out a day after today called Cheating Death. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. This is your first ever podcast?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That I can recall.
Yeah, you recall.
I honestly did a podcast sometime that I don't remember.
Yeah, had some late night conversations and recorded on a phone. And it's just, it's just out there.
Those days that you think you're recording a podcast when you and your friends are like, oh, we're so funny, let's be on a podcast.
Yeah, I constantly question my reality of like friendship with people, because like I feel like 80% of the time I hang out with them, it's on a podcast.
Oh yeah. Dang.
I promise you're really my friend. I know.
Yeah, I'm not just using you over.
Anyways, let's just jump right into it. What got you into acting, and just take me through your journey with that.
Oh man, I've always been into this. I was one of those little kids that would like force their family members to watch their skits that they put on, and like force my cousins to be a part of those skits. And yeah, so I've always kind of had like a little niche for acting and performing and creating and stuff like that. So but it wasn't until I was in like high school, like a freshman year of high school, that I was in my first ever play. And then that's when I was like, oh, wow, like this can actually be something real. And then, yeah, I just stuck with it, went to school for it, because my high school that I grew up in, like, had no theater kind of class or any kind of real education about it. The drama teacher, like, passed away when literally when I was getting into freshman year, and I was like, dang it. I was like, I needed her to stick around, but I mean, I get it.
They knew Kiera was coming. They're like, fuck.
If it's your time, it's your time, I guess. I'm gonna stick it out for one more year, but yeah. So I kind of, in that situation, I kind of had a chance to create my own kind of theater, and like what our school saw theater as, because we had teachers that weren't really theater teachers, but teachers that were just like, okay, yeah, I'll direct the play so that we can put on a play.
That's
and
nice
then
of them.
yeah, and then because of that, they look to the students as like a collaboration, because they're like, I have really no idea what I'm doing, but what do you want to get out of this? And so it was a lot of collaboration, which I look back and I'm like, that's really, really dope, because now like I'm older and I feel like I go into creative processes like in a collaborative way. And so, yeah, I did that. And then it wasn't until I got out of high school that I was really starting to like dabble in like the short films and the those kind of behind the screen kind of things. And yeah, so And I'm just constantly trying to stay busy doing all of those things.
Hell yeah. So how do you like find these like short film opportunities? Like is it just purely through connection? Are you looking places or
it's definitely Facebook.
Nice.
I mean, I have an agent in Des Moines, which that
cool.
sounds so prestigious to say, like, I have an agent, but it's true. But it took me like 4 years to get into the agency, just because the first couple times that I did it, they were like, "You're not what we're looking for," and I was like, "Okay, I'll be back." And then they finally, accepted me in, and I was like, "Great," but even then, like, I didn't start getting like consistent work until like 2 years into doing it. It took a long time to like get my name out there and be like looked at as like, okay, she's a respectable, actor in the sense of like she doesn't waste people's time. She shows up when she needs to. She does the work, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to like the cool short films and little features that happen more like in the community, Facebook. Like just being in those Facebook groups and then like knowing people in those groups.
Yeah, Iowa Film's a really good one.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, like for our short, we ended up, thankfully everybody came through. We didn't really need to find anyone else, but like I remember even like Gabe was having issues and like we didn't think he was going to come through, and like I had 5 people on there just be like, yeah, I'll do it. So very cool community for those who are in film and need some kind of network for that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, like, I'm sure there's been quite a difference between like working in like a play environment versus like doing a short film or feature or whatever. Like what's like the biggest difference for that in you, and like what do you like or dislike about either of those?
That's such a common question that I get. Like they're like, which one would you choose? More, but I can't because they're so different.
Yeah.
I mean, they have their similarities, but like to me, like theater, there's something really unique about being live, and like every time you do a show, it's different. Even though you're doing the same show, it's like you have a different audience, which gives a different energy. Some laugh, some clap, some cry, some are just silent, and they're just like, but they actually really like it, but they don't show that, and you're like, this is kind of hard to work with. But then. So being live, you if you mess up something, like a line or you skip a page and you tear something or like something happens, like you just have to roll with it, and it's so fun to like mess up but like roll with it, and then you catch it, or your other like actors on stage, they like help get us back on track. It's like something really interesting because you're like, are we like in sync or something? Like this is awesome. So that's really cool. With like,
well, I'm glad you find that cool. I would find that terrifying.
No, it's really cool. Like, okay, like a good example of that would be like, I did Alice in Wonderland, and I was Alice, and I was sitting on a bench, and Alice has like this puffy dress, and so I had a lot of tooling underneath.
Did they give you LSD beforehand? No.
If they did, that would have been a way better show. It would have been.
We need everybody to get in character.
Yeah. I mean, if you looked at our costumes, though, you probably would think that we were on it.
LSD inspired, maybe.
Yeah. I'm like thinking back to costumes now. But yeah, so I was sitting on a bench, and I remember getting up, and all you hear is, it's just my dress like just ripped, it like caught on the bench, and it just ripped, and then I don't know, it was kind of like one of those moments you're like, shit. But then you just kind of have to like roll with it, and so I just was like, how rude, and I like stayed in character, and I just like ad-libbed like lines and stuff like that, and the audience loved it, and honestly it made me feel like I was like, wow, that was really like thrill. Like what a thrill that was, like to think that like I could have messed up the whole show, but I didn't. So
well, good. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's really cool, the fact that you're able to like find all these different gigs. Like, people don't think like theater when they think of Iowa, so the fact that you've like made your way through that. Do you like, maybe this is just me, but I always found like when you're doing a play, there's like a certain amount of prestige behind it almost. Like, have you ever seen Birdman? With Michael Keaton and highly recommend looking
See,
at it.
I'm really bad at, like, I always say I'm a terrible theater kid or anything like that because I'm so bad at, like, seeing new movies or seeing, like, shows and, like, theater plays and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, if you're a theater person, I highly recommend checking out Birdman. Guys, we're back. Sorry, I have a 12-year-old little shithead that can. She has a will of her own. So what? I guess what was it like for those who don't? So we just released this short, Cheating Death. And I want to say I think you're an excellent actress.
I appreciate that.
I was honestly blown away. Like, no, I'm serious. There's just something about you that's like, you can tell there's something very natural about how you just have a knack for acting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any like inspirations or like actresses or actors that you look up to that you try to emulate or that you pull inspiration from? I'm the GOAT.
It's my Leo moon. She thinks she's the best. No, I honestly, okay, like, I really appreciate actors and actresses, and I genuinely don't have like one person that I'm like, wow, like I want to be like them. I feel like I take a little bit from everybody. Like, one of my favorite things to do is like go on YouTube and like watch, especially when it comes to film, watching movie like gurus, people who are like really into film, like break down characters and like how the actor like portrayed those characters. I think that's really fun because I'm seeing like a different perspective of like someone who might not necessarily know the art of acting, but like that as like a viewer, they're like, that was really cool, and that was that really was something that I remembered just watching it, where it made me feel certain things. Because I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, as an actor, like, I just want to feel like a connection with the people that are watching, and like have them get something from the art, even though it's, what's the word, the S word,
subjective.
Thank you. I never could remember that word. But it's always subjective, but like it's really cool when like your audience is like, you're like, you got it. Like, you were feeling what I was feeling. Great. That's really fun. And then, or if they're like, they give you something else, like a different perspective, you're like, wow, never thought about that, but that's a really cool like way of looking at it. So I don't know. It's kind of, it's cool being unique. Like, I think I thrive off of feeling like I'm like one of a kind, or like I don't take from someone, or like I take from everyone, something like that. So
that's cool. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because like I think you, and I guess to be fair, I've only seen what you've done in
just that.
But it seems like you have your own blend. Like, I think the greatest actors and actresses are people who like Jack Nicholson, for example. Like, when he has a role, he's going to have some element of like anger or craziness or whatever, like, but he can still play different characters. He can still have different, he can still step into those different roles and still, but it's Jack Nicholson, not because you see his face, but because of how he's acting.
That's like a very interesting thing too, is this concept of like being like that chameleon actor, versus, I kind of always have wanted to be one of those actors that you might not necessarily know their name, but you're like, I always see them. You're like, oh, I know she was in that one movie. Like, what was it? Or what is her name? Like, I like those actors. Like, there's this guy in my head. I don't know his name. I see him in everything, and he usually plays like a cop or a detective. He's kind of older. He's this black man, and I don't know. I always think about him, and I'm like, I kind of want to be like that. Like, as much as like being a chameleon actor would be really cool, like, Johnny Depp, all those, people that can really just transform them as like a person. But I think when even chameleon actors, like, sometimes you look at them and you're like, I still know that's Johnny Depp, he's killing it.
Yeah.
But like, it's almost hard to like take the character away from the actor, or like morph them into where you can't even see the actor anymore. like, I want people to, like, look at me and not think of Kiera. Like, I want them to be like, oh, that's whatever her name is, like, as the character. Because that's how I am when I'm acting, is, like, I kind of black out as Kiera, and I just ride the train of whatever character I'm on. So that's the kind of acting that I like to do.
That's awesome. So you really feel like you're able to let go of all, like, your ego in a sense, and really just so, like,
that sounds really deep though. That's cool though. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. Like, do you consider that method acting, I guess, or
yeah, to an extent.
Okay.
You know, method acting is so controversial, like, because of you know, the how far people can take it. But, like, I do kind of feel like I am a method actor to a sense. Like, when I did a play once where I was Laura from the Glass Menagerie, and if you know that show, she has a limp because of her leg. And I put a pebble in my shoe, like, to get the limp right, because you don't want to just, like, you know, like, pop it. You just kind of want that subtle lean, almost like you're compensating, like, with the other leg. And I feel like I couldn't get that, knowing that there wasn't actually anything wrong with my leg. So I put a pebble in my shoe because it really, it made me actually feel what she was, like, probably going through.
Damn. So, like, during the performance, or, like, all the time you had a pebble?
I did it for most of rehearsals, and then I feel like I got a hang of it that I didn't have to do it for the performances. But also, like, my director was like, I highly suggest against this. Like, I don't think you should do this. And I was like, I'm gonna do it because I just need to. It's, like, not that bad, you know.
Yeah.
But it's but it really did help.
That's wild. But, like, I think it's cool the fact that, like, despite you know, dabbling in method acting, you still have a sense of, like, self, like, have a sense of Kiera, you know. Like, the actor that comes to mind is, like, Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen his roles, but, like, you watch him in, like, There Will Be Blood, and he's, like, this really, like, you know, this, like, oil guru, like, really mean guy, and then you see him in an interview, and he's, like, wearing pink, and, like, all, like, you know,
hi.
It's just so bizarre. Like, see, like, you know, Johnny Depp, at least, like, yes, he is, like, a chameleon actor, but there's still, like, a little bit of Johnny Depp in it. But, like, Daniel Day-Lewis, he's, like, that rare actor that's like a complete chameleon actor. Like, he can play completely different roles, and, like, he don't even, like, it's his face. That's the only difference. Yeah, it's the only reason you know it's him. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. What films or plays come to mind when, like, you know, because I'm sure that there's something that, like, you know, initially was like, oh, like, I like this, you know, like, is there anything that comes to mind in that?
Like, when I started? And, like, what kind of made me, like, think I could do this for real?
Yeah, sure.
That's hard. That's really hard, because I don't feel like I had, like, an aha moment through watching.
Okay. It was just kind of doing it.
Yeah, it just brought me a sense of, it really, like how you said, like, it's almost therapy for me, like, to act, whether it's theater, you know, screen, whatever it is. Like, it's very therapeutic. It's a way that it's like the same way that people go to the gym to, like, let out steam or whatever. It's like, for me, like, acting is like, it's escapism in, like, to me, the healthiest way. It allows me to literally escape from my mind, from the world, momentarily, and then bring it back. So, like, you know, you said that, like, I still have this sense of self, and I feel like breaking out a little actor, like, tool here, but what I do is I go through the door. So there's, like, I imagine a door in front of me, and, like, my character's on the other side, and Kiera is standing on one side and the character on the other side. And so when I, like, open that door, I, like, envision my character, and then when I walk through the door, I am my character now, and, like, Kiera's, like, staying back on the other side, and that allows me to, like, leave my baggage at the door and, like, take on whatever baggage that my character has. But then it also helps me when I come out, because sometimes, like, characters have a lot of baggage that you wouldn't normally have in your everyday life, and you don't want to take that back with you, because you have enough baggage as you're on your own. So being able to, like, leave, you know, your character at the door and then come back and be yourself again. But, like, you still remember, you know, those feelings or some of those moments as the other, and that's what helps, you know, that character really develop. But at the end of the day, you're separating those souls, I guess, in a way, and keeping it safe, you know, for yourself.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people underestimate like how powerful playing a character could be. Like, I you know, I obviously haven't done like anywhere near the extent of acting that you have, but I did a little bit of like speech type of stuff in high school. And we did this play about a school shooter. And this was back in like 2012. So this was like at the height of like, you know, there were just a lot. I mean, there have always been a lot of school shootings, but I think I remember particularly at that point in time that like it was all in the news, like it seemed like all the time.
Yeah.
And like I remember, like I didn't even have like a prominent role, but like, you know, I was dealing with my own mental health issues, and like I remember like how much that affected me. Like just even like participating in that, I was like I felt my mental health decline as I kept participating in this play. You know, and you know, I'm sure there's some people who kind of think like, oh, what Tom Cruise does is like silly or like, you know, whatever, but like. You know, I think there's a lot of ignorance in like saying something like that, because there is a lot like going into like, you know, playing a character, putting yourself in character shoes. Like I can't envision myself ever being able to do like what you do or what Daniel Day-Lewis does. Like I feel like if I ever acted, I would just be Coleman. I would be the Paul Rudd. I would be, you know, I would just be, okay, there's Coleman playing Coleman.
What is it like? Adam Sandler. Like I feel like Adam Sandler plays Adam Sandler, or like Will Smith sometimes too plays Will Smith.
Well, but did you see Uncut Gems though?
Yes, I did.
See, but
that was wild.
Yeah, I feel like he's like Adam Sandler was that actor, but I feel like in his later life he's actually surpassing that. Like he's actually becoming that.
He's like, realizing that there's more to him, like as an actor and an artist. Yeah,
that's all. You know, there's something about like actors, like comedy actors going into like serious roles that like I don't know, I almost have like I really love that, like Jim Carrey playing in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. You know, he always talks about how he did the Man on the Moon, the movie about what the fuck was his name, Andy Kaufman. And like how that role like just sent him over the edge, like with his mental health, and then his agent was like, hey, I have a movie for you, don't get better. Literally like stay depressed so you can keep doing.
Oh my gosh.
But it fucking like it's fucked up.
Make
but
that
like
money, make that money, make that money. Like what it's giving.
But like it worked, you know? It's crazy. What do you think about like have you seen, I'm assuming, have you seen The Shining?
Yeah. Yeah. Like hearing about like what happened like backstage and stuff of like backstage.
Yeah.
You know, behind the scenes of like what the actual like what
Kubrick did to like well, especially to Shelley Duvall. I mean, he was just like horrible to her. But it's, I don't know, I guess I'm curious what your opinion is on this, because like what he, like how he treated her was awful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it gave this like crazy performance.
Gold.
Yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so first of all, definitely respect actors. Like I think one of the biggest things is like sometimes like when you're on a film set, and this can even be like local like stuff here that I've gone through, people like don't give a shit about actors. They're just like, you're just here to like look good on screen. Like they kind of forget like that we're still people, and like I know that you're like doing your thing and you're getting like everything set up and stuff, but it's like they kind of forget like that we're still people. I don't know, that sounds but it's just sometimes people do mistreat actors just thinking that they're just here for the limelight or whatever.
Yeah. Well, as Luane described it, meat puppets.
Yeah. That's funny. That sounds like something he would say. But so in my community college, I did a show, 12 Angry Jurors. Normally 12 Angry Men, so it's normally like 12 men, but we did it where it was mixed cast. And
sure.
I just remember the guy who was directing us, my character wasn't getting to the emotional height that he was like envisioning for my character, because like I was number 5, so I wasn't like one of the main actors, but there was a pivotal moment that my character shifted the show in a way, and so he was like, I really want that to be your moment. and it's where I'm fighting with one of the more main guys, actors, whatever. And I just remember rehearsal one day. He had all of the other actors sitting on the ground watching us, and he had me and the other actors standing facing each other, like close, you know, like, because he was just like, you know, he let us get comfortable. He wasn't just like, get really close, you know. He was just like, stand like this far apart, say your lines. And so we did that. Now he's like, take a step in, say them again. And he just kept pushing that like boundary a little bit. And then he would like from the side, he would just like yell things. He's like, get angrier, feel it. Like he would just really push. And at least for me, I liked it because there's something, it kind of brings me back to sports in a way. Like when I did sports and you hear your coach like, get him, like block him out, blah, blah, blah. You know, like you get that, like that yelling in the back of your mind. But to me, like when I'm really in something, it helps when someone's just like adding more like urgency, or like, I don't know how to explain it, but I liked it. It got me to a point where I delivered my lines and everybody in that room was speechless. And I don't know what I did, because I feel like when you're really doing your thing, you do black out. You kind of like yeah. What did I do? What did I do? Because they'd be like, do it again, just like that. That was great. And you're like, what did I do? And you're like talking to the people around you. But I really liked that. But when it comes to like, you know, The Shining and pushing people to that kind of limit, I think you're now focused more on the movie, and rather than your actor's health. I mean, because I didn't ever feel like my director was pushing me in a way that felt unhealthy. Like I feel like if it got to a point where I was like in tears, or you could see me physically uncomfortable, he'd be like, okay, good enough. Let's pull back, you know, and let's regather ourselves. But I feel like, yeah, you really do got to be careful with like actors, because they're still people, and I feel like if you push them too hard, you're willing to like break people at that point. Yeah. And I just don't think that's cool.
Yeah, and well, I think that's a really good thing about the day and age we live in, is I think a lot more people are cognizant of that, you know, compared to 1980 when that movie was
with like
made,
intimacy directors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool, because I'm kind of an intimacy director. I got my first level done, but
yeah, but I think there's a lot more. And like, you know, I just finished the video production program at DMAC, and you know, when I was going through that, they, you know, a lot of things that every teacher emphasizes, like make sure everybody's comfortable with what you're doing, especially, you know, if you have a scene that, you know, is dealing with some, you know, particularly
something intimate, whether it's sex or like or like I'm doing a show right now. I'm stage managing a show, Native Gardens, at the Playhouse. Subtle plug. No, just kidding. But it's a show about, you know, two couples and their different races, and the show really, you know, at points you're saying things like that maybe you as a person would not say to someone else. And that can be really hard for someone to be like, oh, this feels really gross, like I feel really icky like after saying this. So we do something like an intimacy director challenge skill, whatever it is, a technique where you check in and check out, and it just allows the actors to realize that I'm saying this not as me, I'm saying this as my character. And like, if I feel uncomfortable, this is a safe space to be like, okay, I need to take a second and like breathe or whatever, because it can get real, you know. Like saying something, you know, that you normally wouldn't say, especially if it's like derogatory, or like what's that word for like when you're saying like, you know, words that you're not supposed to towards like people of like color.
Oh, well, I mean, like just segregator or segregate. That's not a word. Segregationist, or like, you know, just racist.
We're just being racist. Yeah. Literally. But yeah, so you got to be kind of careful about that.
Yeah, I can imagine. You know, and like you kind of touched on that, like the intimacy part. Like, I don't know what kind of roles you've done, but like I'm sure you still have like some insight on this. Like, you know, like when it comes to like a sex scene, you know, like how, like I can imagine that like if I had a partner who was an actor who was like involved in that, like I would have a really hard time like
being okay the with partner that has like the actor partner, or that you are the actor and your partner is looking in.
Well, I mean, I guess either way, like how do you like because I mean, if you have a scene where, like, even if like you're kissing with somebody,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like how do you like mentally, like, and again, I don't know what you've done, but like, how do you like mentally prepare that, or like, you know, separate that away?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in a relationship before where I also had to like do like a kissing scene, and what I did was I just talked to my partner, and I was just okay. Most people that I date, I usually preference like, this is my job. And you know, like, I'm not like, you gotta like it, but I'm just like, this is a part of this, and you know, I'm probably not gonna change exactly what I'm doing for you. I know that there's some actors out there, like the guy from You. There was a moment where he's done really like hot and intimate scenes, and he's married now, and he just feels differently about it. He's like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want to respect, you know, my partner and not do that. And that's fine too. But for me, like, I usually just have a conversation with my partner, you know, prior to dating, but also like in the relationship. And I'm just like, hey, like, you know, like, this is my character. This is the role. This are the things that I have to do. Like, how are you feeling about that? You know? And, you know, giving them the space to, like, you know, share their thoughts and feelings honestly, and, you know, helping validate those feelings. And then, you know, like, having a conversation, like, reassuring them, like, this is like a job for me. I look at it as a job, you know. But if there's a moment where, like, maybe me kissing, like, a co-star does turn differently for me, like, inside, like, I would have that conversation with them. Like, I would tell them, like, if something changes internally, I'm gonna talk to you about it. But yeah, for the most part, you know, it has yet to happen where I've kissed a co-star and I was like, I'm in love with you now. You know.
Yeah, well,
but I'm also not like kissing, like, you know, Brad Pitts or anything like that either, so I don't know.
You're out dealing with Iowa.
Yeah. No shade.
That's funny. So I guess like you know, kind of that same question, but like, you know, like with co-stars, like how, like, does that like kind of change the relationship with your co-stars, or like is everybody just able to kind of put up that wall? And
I mean, I think it really is personal. Like, for me, I think I do pretty good at putting up that wall. Because again, like, I go into my character. So when I am kissing my co-star or doing anything very intimate, whether it's emotional or physical, you know, I do feel like I'm like, oh, I am my character right now doing this. But it does make you think of them differently. Yeah. I mean, you can look at them and be like, you're not really a good kisser, or, you know, stuff like that. You do look at them differently, but that doesn't necessarily change, like, how you handle situations. Sure. So you can still handle it in a professional way where you're like, okay, I do know these things about you. I'm gonna, you know, keep that to myself, or keep it professional.
Yeah. Sure.
But I've had some moments, like, one of the shows that I did where I had to kiss someone, I could tell that, like, the other actor was very uncomfortable and, like, was avoiding kissing me at all costs. Like, we would go to rehearsal, and, like, you know, in the rehearsal, they give you the rehearsal and they're like, this is where we're gonna start practicing the kiss, you know, just a preference, you know, get everybody mentally ready. And we got to that day and he was like, I have a cold. And, like, saying all these, like, little excuses. And, like, at first I was like, okay, maybe he does have a cold. But then, like, that cold lasted, like, a good week. And, like, my director got to the point where he's like, we have to practice the kiss. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, we do have to practice it because we're going to do the kiss, you know, in the show. Are you going to be okay with this? And if not, we're going to have to figure out something. And we just need to know at this point.
Silicone lips me.
Yeah. Or doing those, like, one, like, off to the side, or, like, kiss the thumb.
Reading a book.
Yeah. But yeah, and so eventually we got the kiss. He was like, okay, like, we could do the kiss. And then, like, he kissed me, but you could tell he was still uncomfortable, and, like, he that energy, like, transferred, and it was just, like, the most awkward little kiss ever. And it was just like, we should have just tried to block it without the kiss, or I don't know, like, if, you know. So
interesting. Did he? I'm just curious. Do you have like a girlfriend or anything, or he was just shy?
I don't know.
No idea.
I don't know. I mean, he didn't say anything about that, but I think he was just shy. Like I just think I think it was his first kiss. Like I do. I don't know. That was just like me making assumptions, but I think I was like, this must be his first kiss, which is fine. But like it's just giving that energy of like he was so nervous because he was like, this is gonna be my first kiss. And like that would be a lot to have your first kiss like on a stage in front of people.
True.
And like with someone like that you don't necessarily have like a romantic connection with or like any kind of connection with other than like we're working together. So
there's an app called Tinder. You can probably get at least a kiss out of that.
I mean, hey, I feel like I'm a pretty good candidate for a first kiss. You would think. Like I think if I was gonna kiss me for my first kiss, I'd be like, I could do that. I feel like I could be fine with that.
Spoken like a true actress.
I don't know. There could be worse people.
True.
To kiss for the first time.
It's funny. I remember when I was in high school, I was in the play, and I had a female co-star, and we were kind of like, we didn't do any onstage kissing or anything, but there was insinuations throughout the thing, and for the last one, we decided to make it like really obvious, where like I walked down stage, and I had like kiss marks, and like my shirt was.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and like the high school professor or director was pissed, obviously, but whatever. It was like my senior year. I didn't give a fuck,
Yeah.
And but like I ended up like, I think I drew like a lipstick kiss because like it was kind of the same thing. I was like,
you didn't do the
no.
You just tried to like freehand kiss.
Yeah,
mark.
I think so. Or maybe you had a guy do it. I don't remember.
A guy kiss your neck.
Maybe, maybe I don't remember. I don't remember how it happened.
That's
but
so
like,
funny.
But we were like small town kids,
I mean, it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
It is what it is, exactly. But she said afterwards, she was like, "Hey, like I could have done that for you," and like I was like, God damn it,
like, missed that moment.
Yeah, the story of my life is missing moment.
Yeah, you need to start like catching the bull by the horns and just attacking the moment as it is.
Yeah, you were not the first person to tell me that, and you will not be the last.
Yeah, it's actually like me and my best friend, like our goal for the summer is just to like start doing that. Like so like if we're hanging out or whatever and like something arises where we meet some cool people at like a restaurant and they're like, hey, you want to go to this open mic night? Like we're just gonna be like, sure, let's go. And like just grabbing those moments and like and riding that wave to see like where the night brings us. I think that's always fun, especially for the summer.
Yeah, that's awesome. I could use more of that too myself. I've always been like the overthinking type, and like,
me too.
Just over planning everything.
Me too.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, I used to like plan these like movie parties like 3 months in advance.
Cute.
Just a ridiculous amount. Like everybody's like, God, how fucking autistic is this guy?
Okay, but were they not fun? Like we love a good movie night.
You know what? I think eventually they just stopped happening.
Oh, people stopped showing up. Dang.
This fucking guy.
I mean, did you provide free food and like chips and stuff? What? They're bogus for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have taken that offer. I would have been like a movie and some free food. Bet.
Yeah.
Good time.
I had some shitty friends in high school. That's okay.
That's how it is with the small town. It is because you're just friends out of circumstance. You're not really friends because you have like similar interest or values.
Right. Yeah, I definitely feel like I missed out like growing up in a city. Like I feel like it would have been a lot easier to find your niche. Yeah, just like I mean, it makes sense. You're in a larger area. There's gonna be more people versus like I think there were 110 people in my class.
Like your graduating class. Yeah. You wanna guess how many were in mine?
300.
20.
Wow! Holy shit!
Yeah, 20 people in my graduating.
What school did you go to?
Iowa Christian Academy. Which, let me just say, it's not a school anymore. It got shut down like I was gonna say like 2 years ago, but I have been out of high school way longer than that. Like 2 years after I graduated, it got shut down because we just didn't have like the money or people to like keep it up.
Sure.
But which is, I mean,
yeah, that's how those go.
I mean, there's some trauma related to that school, so it might have needed to go.
Yeah, ooh, that's rough. Yeah, I went to like a small private Catholic school out in Northwest Iowa, and I didn't hear anything about like that happening, but I remember that school ended up shutting down too. And I remember they had I found it on Facebook, they like had pictures of like they had the fire department like burn it down because the building was condemned. So I'm just like sharing this post. I'm like, yeah, this fucking piece of shit school is burning to the ground.
That seems so extreme. I mean, ours just turned into like a daycare for a whole different school, but like,
oh, it was a shit building though.
Burned it down. They were like, it's filthy. Like,
it was a shit building.
Not physically, it was filthy.
Yeah.
Spiritually.
So how they designed it, they didn't have a slanted roof. They just had the flat roof because it was so old. Yeah, so everything would like flood and fall through. And like I remember, I would walk into the building. I would walk in through the front, like the front doors, and there was like a glass on top, and it would be covered in ladybugs. Just a swarm. It was like something out of a movie. Just like a swarm like flying above you.
There's like, something about like millions of little bugs, like all being in one place that is eerie because it's like. It feels like the ground is moving or like that area is moving, but you know it's not because it's just a whole bunch of little creatures, which is nasty to me.
Yeah. One of my biggest nightmares is like ginormous bugs.
Like a tarantula?
Yeah, well, like I'm talking like science fiction level, like a 5 foot long spider
like
or something.
Abnormally huge.
Yeah. I have this weird like the movie King Kong. That movie still terrifies me. Yeah, because there's like a fucking 12-foot centipede, and I'm like freaking out. Imagine if this was in the room right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'd be like, Kiera, kill it.
Heck no, I'm out. Bugs, but see, here's the thing though. I'm more creeped out by the smaller the bug, because I think it has to do something with my hair. Like I think when you have curly hair, like if a bug was to fly in my hair, it would get stuck. It would like trap itself in my hair, and I think there's something about like bugs like burrowing in my hair or like getting into my body like that freak me out. So. Little bugs freak me out. But I mean, if you were like, there is a gigantic bug on that wall, I'm like, looks like we're going to be sitting here looking at it. I'm not touching it.
Yeah, or like bugs crawling in your ears and shit. Yeah. It shows. I remember when I was a kid, I swore I had like a fly into my ear.
I swallowed a fly once.
Oh, shit.
It was a really windy day, and I was just like trucking, and it just went down my throat.
You got a little bit of protein out of it.
And I was like, and I spit it up, and it flew. It's like you're doing really good, taking life by the horns. But no, continue. You had a fly in your ear.
Oh yeah, well, I was convinced it was like living in my brain.
Yeah, see, I don't like that.
I don't like flying around my skull.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That really creeps me out. Because I also think like, I don't know, in high school or junior high school, I think I had some kind of thing. I think it was like a medical thing, but I don't know how intense it was. But if someone, like I was ticklish, but if someone touched my neck, it would like leave this feeling of like little mini bugs were like crawling around in my neck. And it would, so like people would think they would be funny and they're like tickle, tickle, tickle. But me, I'm like on the ground, like crying. And I'm like, get the bugs out. And I don't know what it was, but I grew out of it. Thank God. But
you weren't on meth, were you? No. I'm kidding.
No.
That shit freaks me out. Like talking about meth, like scratching their arms and shit. Yeah. Fuck all that. Let me ask you this, like, going back to like acting, like how do you like if you're doing a play or whatever, like how do you memorize those lines?
I don't even know. I think there's magic in theater and like just acting in general where for some reason it like works itself out. Like, so I mean, for me, repetition works and really helps with memorization. Movement, well, memorizing helps, because it's one thing to like memorize lines like sitting still and like dun 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 dun, and then you could kind of get into this rhythm, which is not the best, because then what happens if you and I start acting and you don't give me the line how I always practiced that you would give it to me, and then I'm like like you want to kind of like practice your lines in a way that there's flexibility for like whoever you're acting with or what could ever happen, and plus like if you like rehearse, I'm gonna cry at this point, there's gonna be a day that you can't cry. You literally cannot cry. And so like what are you gonna do if you practiced it where you cry every time? You're gonna get frustrated, you're gonna get mad at yourself, you're gonna be like, I suck, like da 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 da. You're gonna get hard on yourself, when it's like being an actor is like you're really pulling real emotions out. So like how can you expect yourself to cry every night, especially if it's theater, you know, every time? So like tackle it in a way that's like flexible, and like, and if you're like moving, like whether you're running or like, you know, punching a punching bag, or even if like for me, like I'm just like flailing around my room just like reciting my lines. That's literally what I did for your
really?
movie.
That's funny.
But yeah, like if you do that, it helps your body like grab the lines like in your brain and connect it to movement, which is really, really good. But then yeah, once I do that,
it just falls into place.
It just falls into place, because there's a moment too, like where you start memorizing and you're like, oh my gosh, this is gonna I have no hope, like, and then you start memorizing, you're like, okay, I'm getting better, this is good, it's starting to click, the story is making sense. And then there's a moment where it gets closer to the day that you either have to film or actually do the show, and you're like, do I even know these lines? Oh my gosh, like what am I gonna do? And then it just works, it just happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a certain amount of time that you're like working with the script, or it just depends on what's going on?
It depends on the script. It depends on how in depth. I really try, like, not only just memorizing words, but I love character like dives. I love that, like, because for me, I noticed that when it comes to memorizing, it comes down to who I know my character to be. Like, I can't just memorize words for them being words. Like, I need to like connect the words to a reason, an objective, and even just like an emotion. Like, what am I feeling? Like, what is my character really going through when they're saying these lines, or who are they talking to, and how does that change the way that they feel about themselves in that moment, and stuff like that. So yeah, I try to be open-minded and open-hearted when it comes to like memorizing lines and like allowing my character to just take him, because once I like understand and grasp the story and then what my character is feeling, I'm like, oh, it's not me memorizing, it's me living. Like, I'm like, oh, this is my story.
Damn, that's good. That's the sign of a true actress, that you're able to do that, because like I feel like I would interpret it like just so literally, like, this line. Yeah.
Sometimes I go too deep, and it's like, you missed the whole point. I'm like, what? You don't think that he was doing this because he had childhood trauma that went to here? He's like, no, I think he just did it because he was hungry. Oh, yeah. I guess that's a good point. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's funny. So how do you like pull out those emotions? Like, if if you need to make yourself cry, like that's another thing. Like I have a hard time believing that I'd be able to do it. Like how do you get yourself to that point where you're like sobbing in front of people on stage or on camera or whatever?
Well, so like one of the little things that I like about acting, that might be not everybody thinks, but I think what's cooler than watching someone cry is watching someone hold back tears. And that is different than watching someone cry. Like, so like for me, I really don't put pressure on myself to cry, because at the end of the day, even if the director's like, I want to see tears coming down your face, they have like things, they have like the tear sticks to help you actually get tears coming. And like, so like there's ways around it, but I'm like, at the end of the day though, like it is so cool, so interesting to watch someone fight back tears, because you're feeling what they're feeling, but they're literally like they're just, you just see it in their face rather than, and then like if there's a point where like tears start rolling, that there was an internal fight to keep them from rolling. And then when they roll, you know that they've like finally like given up or released, whatever it may be. So but when it comes to like trying to get myself to that point of like those heightened emotions, I pull from my personal life. And sometimes I get on myself because there are moments or certain situations where I'm like, you know, like I don't know, I really don't know. Like a good example would be like if I played a mother who miscarried, you know, trigger warning. But like if I played that, I've never, you know, had a child, and I've never like lost a child. And so how would I know genuinely what that feels like? I can just pull from the experiences of others and what I think that is. But like, I'm not going to get on myself for being like, oh, no, find that emotion. I'm going to pull that feeling of loss from something else, grief from something else, you know, because at the end of the day, I might not have lost a child in that way, but they're still grieving. They've lost something. So like, how can I find something in my personal life that resembles loss in that heightened way? And how can I just take that and throw that in there and then build off of that? That's what I do. So I really try to take it from like a personal experience, but I do get on myself sometimes when I come against like a role that's maybe something that I've never experienced. It's like an internal like actor thing where I'm like, I need to go like, I don't know, like smoke all this drugs so that I can feel what they feel, you know, like I just trying to like, you know, that method acting thing again. But you know, I try to just pull it from what I've already experienced in a safe way.
Cool. So like, did that like take time to like figure that out and get there? Or is that something you've always like found you're just naturally able to do? Or
I think to an extent it's taken time. Like anything that I feel like I'm sharing with you about like technique and stuff, that's something that I've learned over time. I feel like I've always been like an empathic person, so I feel emotions really well. And so I feel like it's easy to pull those emotions. But I've noticed that like as I grow up and I mature and I heal some of those things that were traumatizing me, it's harder to find those like emotions as easily. I have to go digging a little bit harder. And you know, some people have said like the more healed you are, the easier it is to find emotions, and like maybe to some people, and I think for me like it's almost harder because like I'm working to heal those emotions, and so I don't want them to be easily, you know, but I do find myself more like if you were to tell me something and you were getting emotional, like I would probably sit here and cry with you because like there's like that empathic self that's like I feel what you feel. But when it comes to like finding my own and like pulling that out, I have to dig a little like longer.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good that you're able to like not like let that affect you. Like I feel like if I was going through that, like taking back traumatic moments I've had, like it would almost fuck me up. Like I'd almost like start like reliving it,
sometimes
like affecting my mental health.
And that's where like the technique that I've learned like through schooling and stuff have really helped me because like, I mean, if you've ever like walked in on like a theater class in college, you're gonna walk into like students laying on the ground and breathing together. Like I'm like, are you really a like a college actor if you haven't like waken up at 7:30 in the morning and like opened up your heart to your childhood trauma and like breathed with your classmates? You haven't probably, you know, really experienced what acting is in that sense. But what I've learned from school though was like, along with the breathing exercise, is like the mental techniques that help, you know, separate you from your character, but also like, let's say I got into my character like really, really strongly. What are healthy ways to like pull me back out? Because it's happened. There's been times that I've played a character and I took them home with me and I like lived that. Like I felt like they were like their baggage was weighing down on me and I was like feeling very like sad and depressed, and you know, it was like I was working through their trauma and I didn't need to. I just needed to release it. So it, you know, and on a spiritual level too, it kind of comes into like just like, you know, like spiritually like washing that off of you and like setting that to the side. It really has helped me. But it's easy. It's like, so like those actors that you know that have like unalived themselves like you know, because of a character taking them over. It's real. It happens. It's scary. And that's why I think a lot of people turn and they're like, method acting is terrible. You know, it's dangerous, which it can be if you don't have the proper techniques to like pull yourself back out, or you don't have the proper support system either.
Yeah. Well, what comes to mind when you talk about that is like Heath Ledger, right? Like, and I remember like seeing people talk about like, oh, he wasn't a method actor, he was just like a drug actor. That always pissed me off. It's like, no, like it like if you watch that movie, that's a crazy role. Like I can, you know, despite me lacking some of the skills, I can still imagine how somebody can you know, get from a point where they're like just whatever, and then they're playing this like mass serial killer, and that just fucks them up. Like you hear stories about like actors like you know, they play a character and they have to do research and like look for like crime photos and shit like that.
I love research, but but I mean, it really pulls you into their life. You know, it's really easy to like look at like those crime photos and you're like, wow, and like because you're not thinking like, wow, my character did this. Like you try to be your character, so you're like, wow, I did this, and that's a lot to take on if you like fully step into their shoes.
So like what roles have you researched for? Like what was that? What's been the extent of that?
Well, I mean, so I did a show, this was theater, but I did a show called The Revolutionists, and I played a Haitian rebel. And I mean, I did a lot of research about, you know, that time and that era, and what like the people there went through and like what they were fighting for and all that stuff. And I honestly, any kind of role that has to do with like being not an outcast, but like being that like what's that word? Marginalized group. Yeah, that's that's where I'm going with that. Like being anything like that.
Sure.
You know, you're opening yourself up to be like to take that. You know, and you're like, it's not fun, especially when you do experience it in the real world. It's like starts like tearing at wounds that are already open. So stuff like that. And too, like when I came out, I did it in theater. Like I did it through acting. Oh, okay. I came out to my family like acting. So we did a show. It was like a theater themed like film. So we did it like on a stage-esque thing, but it was shot in the, you know, the visual, you know, aesthetic of film. So it moved with us. But it was very like, you know, we had like a curtain in the back. So it wasn't like, it looked like a real home. It was like a theater style home.
Okay. Sure.
And, you know, we wrote that script like as a cast. Like that was the whole idea, is like we would sit down and like we would break ourselves off into groups, and whoever was like in the scenes together, they would sit down and they would write the script. And me and my fellow actor Donna, she played my mother, and we talked about like, what do we want this you know scene to be about. And it had so much. It talked about so the whole show was about being Black in Iowa. So that was already in itself something powerful.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, we gave these characters like, you know, personal lives. And so like my character was coming out to her mother, on top of like her and her mom were having this conversation about where she wanted to go to college and whether she wanted to go to a Black college or, you know, like a college like Iowa State or something like that. Yeah. And so it was very interesting for me because it was like I used that moment. I talked to her and I was like, I think she should come out to her mom. And knowing in my mind that my parents and my family was going to watch this film, and that was me going to come out. Me sitting on the couch like, hi. You know, so where was I going with that? I had a reason. This happens a lot.
You were talking about like I think we're just talking about like finding your character, kind of, you know, or like the audience knows. The audience knows, and they're screaming. So.
That my brain will go off on a tangent, and I will fall off the branch.
Well, thankfully the audience is used to this, so good. I think you're. I think you're in the clear. But no, I mean, I think that's really cool that that like you did that you dove that deep into a character. Like again, this is like, and like as a director, like I've always heard that like it's good to like take an acting class, and like I've honestly I've been playing with the idea a little bit, like if directing something I want to do more of, like, you know,
understand the actor more.
Exactly, not treat them like meat puppets.
Yeah, right. Let's get that on a t-shirt. Yeah. Don't treat actors like meat puppets. Or it's movie. Like, are you an actor? No, I'm a meat puppet.
On the back.
Yeah. And or the other way around. Are you a meat puppet? No, I'm an actor.
Yeah, that's funny. That's even funnier. Yeah. That's good.
Okay, trademark. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, I'll give it to Wayne.
There you go.
That was him.
There you go.
I just made it better.
Collaboration.
Yeah,
50-50.
exactly.
There you go.
That's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. Kiera, this has been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Obviously, we have the short film that's going to be premiering tomorrow.
Is it really? What time?
It's either...
No time.
Let's just say midnight.
Okay.
Midnight Friday. I think it was originally for 2, but 2's been... they always say 2 to 4 is the best time to post in the algorithm, but it hasn't really been working out for me, so I'm just going to do midnight.
There you go.
Midnight, Friday, the 19th, midnight. All right. What else you got coming up pipeline besides that?
I am stage manager at the Playhouse, Native Gardens. Right. I did say that, but I'm also going to be in a film called The Safest Place in the Cosmos, and that is going to be coming out soon. We're just finishing up filming right now for that, but those are the most recent things that I got going on.
Hell yeah.
Follow me on Instagram.
Hell yeah. We'll put all those links in the description. Kiera, you're a brilliant actress. I love the fact that we were able to work together, and hope we can do it again. Likewise. And thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. Every Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. You know what's up. We have a website, McCowStars.com, where you can find us there. We also have a Patreon, where you can find exclusive content and all those goodies. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Peace.